All right, I'm here with Michael Maximoff, the co-founder and managing partner at Belkins. Belkins is a appointment setting agency, and they're doing 15 million in revenue per year. And so usually I know we have SaaS founders on here, but I wanted to have Michael on here almost kind of selfishly for me so I can pick his brain because I'm running an agency and I'm sure there's tons of lessons that he learned that I can learn from. But you did launch a SaaS company, I know, with Folderly. You guys are doing 1 million in ARR. You're not actively running that company. You focus on the agency. And you're also doing founder-led marketing. You have a podcast. So it is not definitely, completely out of the, the realm of the types of guests we usually have on here. But anyway, Michael, thank you for joining.
Thanks, Finn. Great to be here.
Awesome. So you started the company in 2017. I think roughly that's what LinkedIn says, Belkins.
17, yeah.
You
never
grew
know,
to now.
Back in the day.
Say what?
You never know back in the day, right? It was like so kind of period for stressful the first year that you sort of like just, is what it's.
It's a blur. Right. And you grew it now to 15 million in revenue. I want to dive into right away the thing that I'm selfishly most interested in, which is retention. I'm running an agency. We're 7 full-time people.
Okay.
We're doing just under 1 million, so the focus for this year, for 2025, for me is retention, because I think I realized what every agency founder probably realizes at some point, which is that you can have great acquisition, you can learn how to get customers through the door, but unless you can retain them for a long time, it's just a revolving door. And so for me, I want to just build the baseline of retaining customers for longer. So I'm curious, what to you are the biggest lessons, the biggest levers to retain customers longer? What comes to mind?
What's your industry, like what agency?
We sell to SaaS companies, small SaaS startups, mostly between 1 million and 10 million in revenue, and interacting mostly with a founder and then into the marketing department, obviously.
But what do you do for those startups?
LinkedIn content. So we interview the founder, create LinkedIn content, run it as ads, and now adding some signal stuff on top of it.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that could be relevant for you, and I think that's early on would have made my team successful. Is I didn't have a classic account management and customer success team. What I did was I brought in guys that I gave them rev share percentage from all the money that they've been making for the company. So in this way, sort of like, let's say I'm taking 5% or 10% ongoing, right? Mm-hmm. So what that helped me to do is that they essentially build up their portfolio over the years, and they focused on making percentage. So essentially, this doesn't make sense for them to run their own shop because they make payments of or percentage of every payment that comes to the company, and not even from profits, but from the revenue. So
wait, sorry, you hired account managers?
Right. So my account managers or my customer success team, basically people are responsible for client retention, right? Mm-hmm. Their salary, their compensation was 30-40% base, and then 60-70% commission from the percentage of the revenue from every payment that the clients paid us. They get the percentage, and there was no cap. So they wanted to accumulate the revenue from the clients. So they didn't have a cap on how many clients they can work with. And the percentage of commission, I played around with that percentage over the years. So we kind of added more percentage, more.
What's the right percentage?
Right. So we kind of play around and check the percentage, right? But eventually the point was that as the lifetime value of customer grow, then the commission of those people from that customer grow as well. So in this way, if you're a senior account manager and you can make so essentially you build up portfolio and commissions and the relationship with the customer, then it just doesn't make sense for you to move to another company because you're making so good. And it's like your portfolio working on you instead of you.
Couple of questions. Those account managers, are those the same people who were kind of running the strategy for those customers?
Yes.
Okay. And then, so there were and then what's the sweet spot for the percentage rev share that you found?
I mean, for us, and I think like just depending on your ACV, but if you're spending
ours is roughly 60K.
So it's LTV, right?
No, per year. So 5K retainer.
Yeah. So I think like 40% cost, total cost is a good percentage. So total for everything you're spending for the client, 40%. And out of those 40%, if you have a strong delivery, so let's say, you need to have content creators, you need to have graphic designers, you need someone, then they should be within like 30%. And then you paid like 10%, 5 to 10% in that range for the strategy, customer support, retention, project management. So my guys did everything. So they were like end to end. So they did the onboarding, the upsell, cross-sell, retention, signing the contract, re-signing, building relationship, getting the positive reviews. Like essentially, I wanted to create it's a model like in a law firms, like big law firms, where you have those managing partners that are bringing in revenue and they're responsible for the clients. Like my account managers are like kind of treated like that. So it means that they can make any call. So if they want to break the contract, they call client. It's not, it doesn't make sense to work with the client. They break the contract. If they want to give client free extension, they give free extension. If they want to do extra work for free, they make that call. But as a result of that, and it's just, what helps me is that I was able to retain this top talent for a longer time. So an account manager on average worked for like 5 years, 7 years. And as they were working they were building portfolio. So they build a relationship. They have one of the highest LTVs. So clients stay with them for a couple of years. They had personal relationship with them and so on and so forth. And
so the way that you talk about it almost sounds like this is not how you do it anymore.
Yeah, but I just played with percentage differently.
Okay. So you still do that model. Yeah. So if I charge, let's say 5K per month as a retainer, right, you're thinking like a 500 per month going to the account manager?
No, I think the way it works is based on the portfolio. So let's say your account manager should be making, let's say $50,000 a month from all the clients, or let's say $500,000 a year, or like $1 million a year. And then you can put like a junior account manager should make this much, senior this much, and then they're growing their portfolio 20% every year. So let's say I have an account manager that brings company 1.5 million. And then so with that 1.5 over the years, his percentage grew, obviously, so he might be, let's say, making 10 grand or 15 grand right now, whereas the junior account manager can make, let's say, 5,000 or 6,000 a month or something like that. Whereas again, there's a difference, but obviously it's all baked into your LTV. So, again, I think like with account management and with the sales team, and I'm just quoting John Barrows here, but John said that all the salespeople, and this is the life we're living in, very transactional in a way. So if there's no incentiveness for you to make more money, then you're not going to do extra things, right? So I made sure that the relationship and the portfolio and the LTV that they bring in the company was very well compensated for those people. And as a result of that, they realized that conditions are much more favorable to continue building up the momentum in the portfolio. But obviously we've added a lot of different responsibilities for them to be able to kind of, again, work with clients end to end. But that was, I think, one of the key things that help us really to kind of push the needle in the LTV direction and retention. But also it just, again, I want to be clear that you wanted to provide ownership to these account managers as much as you can. So it means that they can make any calls and you're going to back their decision, right? So they can make decisions on the spot, basically.
Where have you found you can best find these types of people? Because my assumption is that the average, let's say, I don't know, marketing project manager might not have, because it's almost like this entrepreneurial thing that they got going. Yeah. Like, where have you found where to recruit them from that they fit this kind of model?
Honestly, I think I just had a couple of successful hires that were brought in from outside, but most of them, they're internally grown up from SDRs. So they sort of like are SDRs that moved into that kind of position. And it's just the rolling, man. It's just sometimes you roll and you have the right person, sometimes not. But
but that works because you're doing an appointment setting agency. So the SDR who is setting appointments for you or for those customers, they kind of naturally understand this process. Yeah. Well, for me, I obviously would need like a content strategist type of person.
Yeah. I think like for you, probably going to be I think like there's a lot of marketing strategists / content writers, / growth specialists that are like freelancing or doing their own one consulting thing. And if you can, what I would do, I'm probably gonna find someone that I can bring on as a consultant, like part-time, and then build the relationship from there and just kind of offset the weird thing that you're doing as a freelance guy as being a part of the like a very strong core agency and just being paid percentage. I think like just generally one of my philosophies for building a strong professional team is just sharing. Like you share percentage. That's it. You don't you don't treat this as a salary in a way. Like you don't bring anyone on a salary. You bring anyone on a contract with commission, with percentage share. Like, and this is my job. I'm doing acquisition. I'm taking 20%, 30%, whatever. Your job delivery, you're taking 40%. We're all making money. Clients is happy. We're all, respecting each other, so working to the common success. So you're always sharing. There's the outcomes of the work, which is the money that clients pay you. So
I mean, that seems like the biggest lever. Just incentivize people the right way. Does anything else or next come to mind?
Yeah, obviously LTV should be your North Star. So you always measure it, report it, incentivize, or like have, all those things, right? I also have an internal KPI, client KPI, which again, we also are measuring and achieving. So it's like you calculate what's going to make your client successful, right? What that metric, and then how you measure that metric, and you just kind of measure the metric, and then you evaluate the teams and the company effectiveness based on that metric on a month. Although, so in my business, it's a guaranteed number of appointments booked per client. So I know how many total appointments I need to book a month, how many an SDR booking, a team booking, and account managers. Like I can break down that in any way or shape or form, and I can see if my average KPI is growing, then my retention is growing. And what I've seen is that many companies in my industry, they don't have that North Star as a client KPI, and as a result of that, they cannot achieve the consistent growth and consistent, success in that spectrum, which again is a mistake. So,
how do you? If you were coaching me, I'm now trying to think. We do LinkedIn content, right?
mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, there's impressions. There's how many posts we actually published.
Yeah.
Then there's could be like leads, but that is reliant on kind of self-reported attribution, right? People saying, hey, I found you through LinkedIn. Like, what should be my North Star metric? Or how would I figure out what it should be?
So definitely no attribution. So I think like we're gonna move to a world where attribution doesn't exist in marketing. So you just wanted to look at how do you contribute to whatever the main business metric is. Either it's revenue or it's a pipeline, and then you kind of just focus on that. So I think there's like there are now tools like we are using Dream Data, where you can sort of like integrate, and you can see how whatever you're doing on social contribute or influence the deals.
Influence, yeah.
Right, influence the deals. Or you can do
and that considers LinkedIn organic, or is that just LinkedIn ads? Do you know?
I think you can do both organic and ads.
Okay.
Yeah. Plus you can have I remember what was the name of it. I can
Hockey Stack, I think, is in that space.
No, we did this causal analytics. So I forgot what the name of the tool is. Are gonna hate me for that, the CEO. But kind of basically what you do, you kind of feed all your marketing data, and then you look for the connections between that metric and that. So you can have a hypothesis like, based on the data from all my LinkedIn, my organic, social, my pipeline, give me answer to if my organic or my company visits on the company page will increase by 10%. How would that influence my my deals? And then it can actually tell you. So yeah, it can actually tell you like exactly.
So it's correlation.
Yes, exactly. You can find like all the correlation between all your historical data. Yeah, if you have enough volume. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Now I was thinking it might be interesting, and we'll see how it goes, for me to tell you what my goal is with the agency, and then you coaching me through it, what you would be looking at, what questions you'd be asking, what types of things you'd be prioritizing, etc. We'll see how it goes. I mean, obviously, we run different agencies. You run an appointment setting. I run a content marketing.
I have 6 agencies right now. I'm kind of building a portfolio of agencies. So I'm currently consulting my other agencies. So yeah, shoot it.
So I would say I am much more focused on, I don't want to build a massive agency. I don't think I want to build an agency that does 15 million in revenue. At least I don't think so. What I care more about is having a calm company that is very profitable, meaning, I don't know, 50% profit margin. I can see myself being happy with 1 million in revenue, 2 million in revenue, something like that, where I'm pocketing a very nice monthly salary.
Yeah.
And it's calm.
Mhm.
I'm not running around. I'm not working 17 hours every day. I do have a couple of ideas. Like I want to build a village. I want this to create the cash flow for me to be able to eventually say prioritize this village, other ideas that I have. I don't want to run an agency for the rest of my life. That's why I'm in focus on retention this year, because I don't see myself just doubling and tripling every year. I just want to ideally just have whatever 10, 20 customers and just retain them and
Yeah.
have. So anyway, I'll stop there. I don't know if that was too little, too much detail.
No,
But
I think you're good. I think you're describing the perfect situation for any agency founder that inspired. Like I would probably wanted to be in your place and do that as well. Now the reality is that, and I'm gonna just kind of break it down for you probably, but getting 50% profit margin is impossible. Like whatever you do, it just doesn't make sense. But because your cost of service, again, for us getting to 40% cost of service it's difficult to if you want to offer a decent quality of the service, right, for customers. And I have half my team is in Europe, right? I have some Ukrainians, some Europeans, but like if I were to build just a US based team, for example, or let's say the UK based team, it's just I wouldn't be able to get the cost.
And just to clarify, cost of service is just to deliver that service. That does not include your own sales and marketing, your
Correct.
own.
Yes.
Yep.
Correct. Yes. Now you always need to have a sales and marketing, because the challenge with retaining the customer is they always churn.
Yes.
Whatever you do, they churn.
Yes.
So if you even create a perfect service that creates a ton of value, then you know the reason why customer going to churn from you. I guess the reason, if you kind of just generate a lot of value for them, why they could churn.
I mean, companies sometimes go out of business or close down.
No, they are like you give them like the pipeline.
Oh, the best. Yeah. Why do they churn then? I don't know. They want to scale it in house.
Yeah, I'm gonna answer a question. You gave them too much business.
They can't handle it.
So they can't handle the business, so they're gonna churn and they're not gonna pay you.
There you
and
go.
Then you're like you over tried. You did like better than they expected, right? And they're not gonna. That's it. So now like probably if you go upstream and you're gonna work with bigger companies, if you kind of do great work with them, then they might not churn as often. But the small businesses, they churn just because like this is a small business, something changed, someone fired, they changed the direction, they cut the budget, whatever. Especially in the marketing, like war happens, you're gonna feel it first. Like at our scale,
yes.
Like when Israel and Palestine started, like when Palestine attacked Israel first, right, our traffic dropped down 25%, right? So it's just insane. And we are just, again, one of the agencies, right? But the point is that because you need to always acquire customers, you need to have a sales team, or you need to do it yourself.
No, of course. I realize
right. And
that.
it's going to take between 10 to 20% of your revenue all the time.
Okay.
So again, the smaller you are, the more problematic to build a sustainable team, just because on absolute numbers, you don't have enough sort of like, enough absolute numbers to make it work. So a good example is, let's say if I have a $3 million agency and I have 2 salespeople, then it's not the same as I have $1 million agency with 2 full-time salespeople, right? It just then, so you need to do your work yourself. And when you're doing your sales, it means you always kind of work on a pipeline, work with clients, they're going to lead you the project. So you're not going to be able to kind of chill, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think like just realistically, I think like from where you want it to be, what the best case scenario would be, it is an implementation agency, something like a Clay partner, someone that you can piggy off a bigger company, like a HubSpot consulting company, Clay, an implementation partner. Like with LinkedIn, probably would be something like a LinkedIn agency that implement LinkedIn ads with LinkedIn on top of LinkedIn with some other things. So your revenue doesn't come with direct service when you actually service the customer, but comes as a referral fee, partner fee, implementation fee, something that you can, again, make so your revenue per employee is high. So you need always to keep the revenue employee very high. Outsource whatever you want. So don't increase your headcount. So the headcount in the professional services is something that eating all the profits. So you don't increase your headcount. You outsource whatever you want. You're trying to be lean. You're focusing only on contributors. people that would work with clients, and then you're building up your offer around a bigger company, especially in some bigger software company that you can work with. They can provide you with leads, so they can give you the business. You don't need to acquire that much. You don't need to spend that much money on your own marketing, because they're going to be feeding you with the leads. And also the leads will have a bigger quality, so that you might just need one full cycle per sales / account manager, maybe even person who can work with that business. And then you focus on building the offer for the type of companies that have the biggest LTV. Now, when you mentioned 5-6K a month, I see the problem here, because with the 5 to 6K, it's already a lot for companies to always start questions and start being kind of very inconvenient about some investments. So they're like, oh, we're spending $20,000 a quarter on these guys. So I would either go to up to $3,000, where like when people are spending $3,000, you might only go to weekly calls and they're going to be paying you that much, right? Just for the support. Or I would go probably to like something like $7,000, 6 to 7 in that range. So I'll go from 5 to between like 6 to 7, because in this way you sort of like already uncomfortable in terms of the price, so they can pay, but you already have that extra 10 to 15% that you can spend on or make the margins. You can kind of get the better people and so on and so forth. And then obviously double down on LTV and tap into a very sort of like focused group of buyers. Like don't go spread it to yourself to think, like, oh, am I working with executive founders? Am I working with marketers? Am I working with head of content? But just focusing on one group. If they're executive, then you're looking for a very specific executive group and just making your offer to them and just working on that LTV, and then that might work. Yeah.
I've heard different people talk about different ranges where you can start, let's say, hire a CEO for the agency, or remove yourself. Like right now, I do all sales and marketing. Right? We don't have a sales and marketing department. That's me.
Yeah.
If I want to be able to focus on other things, say the village that I want to build, then I would need to hire someone for that. But for that, I need more revenue to support that.
Correct.
Do you see a sweet spot where it's kind of, you're big enough that you can actually remove yourself from it, but it's not so big that, I don't know, it's now a whole different animal?
3 to 5 million. That's what you need to be if you don't want to run your sales.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because with the 3 to 5, you already are big enough to delegate, and you already have a sort of like a structure, and just generally you have a predictable pipeline, and you are able to you already are able to build a couple of sales executives or account executives with a couple of maybe BDRs that worked under you for some time, and then you can able to build a leader in the team that could sort of like help you out with some of the managerial tasks. But yeah, 3 to 5, just because before that it's hard.
Interesting. And then what's your take? I mean, I sometimes see, no, I have another question before then, and then we go there. What are the biggest levers you would be looking at if I'm doing $1 million right now and I want to go to that 3 to 5 million? What are the biggest levers you'd be looking at?
Yeah, so one of my actual agencies, we started it last year. They're on their trajectory to make their first $1 million this year, and so we are consulting Nick, the CEO of that agency, and so his costs are very high because they're inefficient. So when you're a bigger company, you're becoming more efficient. You have more processes, you're building out your org structure, you have the right people. And when you're smaller, and if you're growing rapidly, then you probably something is inefficient. Either you are someone or something. So like becoming efficient is very important. So it means that just measuring, like setting up KPIs, setting up structure in place, setting up the reporting, because like for them, it was like, oh, we start measuring our KPI per client, but we were not reporting on it like on a weekly basis, or we were like sort of like not using it to calculate compensation or something. So they were like kind of not very serious about that. And as a result of that, this metric haven't been growing. And it backfired some other metrics. So I will really focusing on that. That's one thing. Then second thing is probably going to be focusing on reinvestment. So you're probably going to be generating profit because you are running a profitable agency. Like every agency should be profitable. If it's not a
Yes.
profitable agency, it doesn't make sense, right? So whatever profit you make, you need to put it somewhere. So you just decide where you're relocating that capital, but you always relocate. So paying yourself early on is not a good idea. So just relocating the capital to get you to that next stage, right? And then you just think about where you relocate that capital. So that was thing. So these
And
are
would you be looking at like bringing on an extra person? Is that where your head goes, or what does that usually mean?
By relocating, I would probably think of a way to either help to deliver better quality of the service for my clients, or to create a pipeline of new deals at a lower cost long term, right? So either or. I would sort of like focusing on all either or, that depending on where we are. So for the so depending on what the challenge is. Like for me, because I was we were alone in the space, we didn't have any external help, no partners. We had to figure out both at the same time, and so we're like, yeah, but that was a different game back then. So these are the two things. And then I probably like the third one would be to building up like the team, a core team where you actually can see there is someone like right hand in your business. Like there should be always a partnership. Like if you're alone in your business, then you should always be looking for the number two. Like always, like you should always have a number two. Like you cannot build a village if you don't have someone that you've been with for years helping with your business, because the other person that you hire from the outside gonna fuck it up. Sorry if I swear it.
No, it's fine. On this show, it's fine. And then this person is like what, the type of COO?
Depending on what you want to delegate first. So like you can do all of that. So for me, it was like, so when we started with my co-founder Vlad, I was doing more sales, sales delivery, customer support, so anything client related, and then he was doing the back end office like finance, operation, tech, admin, and then as we grew, like one of my best friend Alex, who we brought in, he started with the account management, and then he took part in the delivery. So we kind of split into Alex was doing the client delivery and retention, I was doing sales and marketing, and then Vlad was doing the back-end office. And in this way, sort of like you can have your own area of responsibilities in a way that could focus on and just be better at that part. So you always are looking for different ways to you can kind of bring on people that in your business that would help you to build a business to the stage, because it's difficult to go from 1 to 3 without having those reliable people on your team just on the salary. Like you don't need more than a salary to help people to go from 1 to 3 just because it's a shit show, right? It's just nothing is working, because from 1 to 3 you're getting to the point where you need more clients to get to 3. But with the more clients, your churn increases. So you start getting more churn. And within churn of the increase of the churn, you need to bring on more clients. So now you start battling like the churn and the acquisition and like balancing that out. And all of that take money, right? So figuring that out is a challenge. But when you've done that, then you go to 3 and then 5. And then when you're at 5, you're like, oh shit, we're doing 5 mil. So now even with 10% profit margin or 15%, you can make $500,000 a year, which is again, and for you to make that at the 1 million, it's just physically impossible. Right. So one of the ideas of like getting a bigger agency a little bit more and like getting that maybe, so I think that sweet spot is probably like 5 million for everyone. So between 3 to 5 million is the sweet spot, because you can even bring on like a CEO for the company for that, and you can still get a 10% or 15% profit a year and get $500,000 to build a village. Yeah.
Interesting. Now you did spin. I think every agency owner probably I've ever talked to dreams about one day launching a product company, because as an agency, naturally, you never own the work that you create.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I think there's this grass is always greener. Like, look at all these SaaS companies, 80% gross margins and scaling so fast. And what am I doing in the service business? It looks like you actually did that with Folderly. I don't know the exact story behind it, but can you share a little bit around how it happened, lessons you learned, mistakes you made, maybe even some reality checks of like, what it actually takes to spin out a product when you're running a service business?
So most of the successful cases of kicking off your own product is when afterwards the agency is slowly pivoting in that direction. So you pivot. So you start being service and you start being a company, right? Like a good example is, let's say, maybe Instantly in our space. They done that, right? So they be an agency in appointment setting or kind of like lead gen, and they kind of, or lead generation, they moved into their own product, right?
And then they went all in on the product, is what you're saying. They're not trying to run two businesses at the same time.
Yeah. Because trying to running both is difficult. It's impossible, because one would always make money like an agency, and you would want to take money off that business, putting that in the other business, and the other will always burn cash. And then you're like, you think that, oh, the payday gonna happen, like we're gonna break even soon with that product. But that break even never happens, and you just lose the momentum. So the mistake that I made was that we're taking off money from Belkins, putting that, let's say, in Folderly, not raising capital, thinking that we're going to build this thing with our own money. We're going to own the 100% of the company, and then it's going to blow up, and because we know how to market, we know how to sell, yada, yada.
Right.
The mistake was that there was no plan B. So when we start burning more and more cash, we have problems with the agency. We couldn't continue investing that much. So let's say if you're a profitable and you're making a couple of $1 million a year, great. But what if you had a bad year? What if you need to reinvest this capital into your agency to because market is changing, right?
Yeah.
Then your product is without the funding, right? And if they are without the funding, when you're without the funding and you start thinking about the funding, that it means that you already lost the funding, right? Because like it's already too late. No one can give you money when you are like in trouble.
Yeah.
So you continue to be scrappy, and you continue to giving whatever money you have to continue supporting, and it becomes from $100,000 to $500,000 to $1 million, and now you're $1 million into your product, right? And you're like, shit, I'm too all in this, right? So what I would probably do if I were to, so the mistake that we made was that the product wasn't a part of our offering. So the product Folderly, our company, is an email solution platform. So we help to kind of bypass spam filters, measure email deliverability, sort of like all of that. So you kind of integrate your mailboxes, your domains, and it like in real time tells you what's happening, give you alerts, help to fix it, yada, yada, yada. So really cool with like outbound, right? Now, for us, we were so deep into our service, then our product was too basic for us. We were more advanced than the product. So we couldn't use the product for our own work. We can just kind of use part of the product. So in this way, sort of like our agency can work without the product per se, right? As a result of that, like you had to market the product differently for a different like audience group, whatever. So it's like basically a totally different company that you are like always giving your money to, because you feel that you're also a company, right? So that's a mistake. So probably what I would do differently is I would just probably either build a product in my agency that my agency cannot survive without. Like we've done that later. We've done like a product now that we've done it for the agency, for internal product for like a couple of years. Now our agency cannot survive without the product. We cannot find the replacement of that product anywhere. So now when we launch it to the market, then it means that it's a unique product that like it's not there, right? What we did, we sort of like did something a bit different in a way, right? So I would definitely either do that and then just pivot into that product and start kind of doing with that product, or I would launch a couple of products that I call it like a one feature product, like RB2B, something that is so simple, something that you can just grow. And I have a couple of products that are currently making, let's say, $10,000-$15,000 a month without any investment, any support. It's just a simple like extension, a one feature product, something that you just get the traffic acquisition done and something, and it's going to be having a high, and so on. So I would probably either do that and just develop a couple of those products, and then you can be an actual SaaS founder. But building something a complicated platform, it's a problematic.
So does that also mean that the internal tool that you now build for yourself that you can't live without, based on what you said previously, if you're going to decide to spin it out as its own separate SaaS product, that you would close down Belkins so that you can fully focus on the product rather than running Belkins, the agency, and the product at the same time?
If I would be in smaller, yes, but now when we're at our scale, it doesn't make sense. You just don't grow a profitable business, right? So so for that other company, what I'm doing right now is I am basically, you're like building an MVP, like external MVP, testing it for like 10, 25, whatever, $50,000. And then you're like, if it has any traction and any merit, then you're looking for a partner, you're raising capital, and you're just going with a
Interesting.
multi-brand, right? You're not doing that yourself because it's a
You're sitting on a golden
like
gold.
people are like SaaS right now in 2025. Like for you in SaaS to make $200,000, $500,000, actually make it and put it, take it home.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a chance, like if you are a superstar in NBA, right? It's just it's like most of the SaaS companies, they don't make money, and then they don't take home a lot of money. It's very rare, very rare, especially now with all the product. So, but with the agency though, you're pricing whatever customers are ready to pay for you, right? For your services. So it means that there's so much more work that you can do for anything, right? So it's just the only way to make money probably right now. Yeah.
But Adam Robinson makes it look so easy.
But it's like it's strange. I don't know why. It's like I'm using his product as well, and I have like HubSpot, like enterprise, fucking like $10,000 package, like Datanize, like all the other like tools, and somehow the simple integration with Slack. Where it just gets me, hey, this guy is reading your blog, this is his company, this is the industry, this is his LinkedIn, whatever. It's so fun to look at and just send it to the team, and just them like integrating with HubSpot and getting all of those alerts. I don't know, it's just kind of there. I think like just the idea was so old for everyone, but I think like having that kind of Slack plugin and the way they kind of do it, it's just worked, and just the way it's so easy to kind of get in and implement and stuff. So I think that's why I think it picked up traction probably. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, Michael, this was fun. I definitely took notes. The pricing point on like the sweet spot or the awkward middle that we're in, really, I'm gonna be marinating on that, I think, for a couple of days for sure. But Michael, thank you so much for your time. If anyone wants to check you out or check out Belkins, I'll link up both your company and your LinkedIn profile in the show notes. Any last comments, any question I should have asked that I didn't ask?
So I'm commenting or documenting my journey in my newsletter. It's called From Zero to Agency Hero. I'm doing a biweekly Substack newsletter, and I'm known to send a very long newsletter. So it's as long as email can actually allow you to send it in one email, and say that the email is too long, you cannot send more. So that's my
Wait, there's a character limit? I didn't know that even.
Yeah.
What's the character limit on email?
I don't know, like 10,000 characters, something like that.
Interesting.
So I do like a large ones, like
okay
ones. Yeah. So if anyone wants to learn about the pricing and the hiring and stuff, if you want to take a look, yeah, it's from
Love
zero
it.
to agencyhero.com.
0 to agencyhero.com.
Yeah, from 0 to agencyhero.com. Yeah.
Cool. We'll add that link in the show notes too. All right. Thank you, Michael, for coming on.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.